the saying of everybody wants to get rich and famous. Well, this is the music business. It mostly never happens. And then if it does, the saying, here today, gone later today.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy from GhostCultMag.com, and I am here with Steve Zing of Blak 29 and a bunch of other bands you know him from. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great, man.
Great to see you. I had a whole cool intro, and then it just right out of my head. Good to see you, man. I have followed your career for a very long time. People will know you, of course, from your association with Glenn Danzig as a member of Danzig, Samhain, or Samhain, if you don't know how to say words of Gaelic nature, and other things. But, super stoked that this Blak 29 brand new album, The Waiting, is coming out very soon on Cleopatra Records, the very fine people at Cleopatra, yes, who have been a long time, again, the 6 degrees of Danzig separation. They're his label for a long time. They put out a lot of great bands, and I'm super stoked. Having remembered seeing a couple of your charity shows with Blak 29 in Jersey at the infamous Dingbats Club, I'm so pumped that this full length is coming out.
Yeah, I'm glad it's finally getting to see the light. It's been in the making for quite some time, and of course, we had a little thing that hiccuped the world for a few years. So, given that, it is what it is.
It is what it is. We're all coming back.
Finally here.
Yeah, we're coming back, and what we need new music, and we need people to come out on tour and support their albums if that's possible for you with all your busy schedule. I hope it is, but it's you and Dan Tracey, and let's kind of like take it back for a second for folks that only know you from your other projects and don't know this Steve led project. You and Dan, let's talk about like the quick origin story of Blak 29.
So myself and Dan played in some other original bands, local, and there was always this point where you have members of a band. It's hard to keep a band together, as you know, especially when it's an original band, right? The saying of people everybody wants to get rich and famous. Well, this is the music business. It mostly never happens. And then if it does, the saying, here today, gone later today. So there are people that don't want to take that journey anymore, and they just want to get off the train. So Dan and I were faced with, all right, it's just me and you now. I guess we're going to look for other people to play with. So we were kind of like, okay, yeah, that's a journey unto itself, finding people that want to do this and suffer for the art of suffering for playing music. So basically Dan's like, I could play guitar. I only knew he fumbled with guitar, but I didn't know he actually could play as good as he does. So I never wrote songs with Dan. It was always with the former guitar player. So him and I sat down, we wrote a song, and in my studio, we recorded it, and we looked at each other. We're like, oh, this is pretty good. I didn't know you could play guitar that well. So we're like, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it ourselves. And I think the chemistry between myself and Dan is really good because he's learned to understand Steve's brain. So I'll throw out something to him, and I'm like, no, that other thing. And he finally understands what that other thing actually means that's stuck in my head. And he's really good at deciphering all my crap that's going on in my head. We wind up recording for the song. When you have more than one or two members of a band and you go to record, a lot of times people they're listening for their part. They're not listening for the song. In this case, I'm doing the drums and the vocals. He's doing guitars, bass, and backup vocals. So we're playing for the song. We're not playing for the part. It's not like I can't hear my guitar. That's not the case here. So it works really, really well for us. And of course, we have 2 songs on the CD that are covers, and ones that's on the LP, featuring Yerky from the 69 Eyes, who we did a duet with for Destroyer, an old Kinks song. And on the CDs, that, and plus Long Cool Woman from the Hollies. And on those 2 songs, we have Johnny Kelly, the famous Johnny Kelly, and of course Tommy Victor from Prong, who, you know, I was so happy that they were part of this. And it just worked out really, really well. And I'm actually happy with it because it's something that I can listen to. You know, you do things in your past, and I normally don't listen to things that I've previously recorded. It's like you kind of put it away and you go, yeah, I did that. This I can actually listen to over and over. So I guess it hit a nerve with me, and I hope it hits a nerve with others. We specifically, again, I don't write for any specific style or anything like that. I don't want to be put into a corner. What people are, whatever they want to label it, they can label it. Doesn't matter to me. We laid the album out so it has peaks and valleys, right? So it starts here, then we go here. I mean, you know, so it's got its ups and downs, just like life, and that's what we wanted.
Exactly. Thanks for unpacking all that. And I'm going to tell you, I'm still a fan of sequencing. I think albums matter. I love to listen to a whole album, not just, I know we live in a Spotify world, and that's fine. And it's good. It's a music awareness, you know, Wikipedia or, you know, Google, but it's not, I like whole albums. So I love that this album I love that you said the album has a journey and peaks and valleys, because it totally does. And so much fun stuff there. And we all want a little insight into the mind of Steve. And I want to shout you out because I don't think a lot of people appreciate that you are quite a fine drummer. Not, you know, I actually saw you play drums. I'm going to say it was Son of Sam. Rest in peace to Todd Youth, by the way, who we loved here and did a amazing interview with in the past before he passed on. But yeah, people don't know what a multi-instrumentalist you are. And I want you to get your flowers, as the kids say these days, because man, the drumming on this is killer.
Thank you. You know, I when it comes to certain things, I like simplicity. Simplicity at its best is, I'm from a very simplistic background of punk rock, right? 50s music, Elvis, grew up on early Kiss, but you know, I loved punk music because it had such energy. It you didn't need a lot of notes and riffs and chords, but it had hooks and it had energy. And energy to me is everything. And that's what I hopefully convey to people, is the energy that we put into it. Dan, on the other hand, came from a completely different background. He's more of a prog guy and stuff like that. When we married the two, this is what we get. And it's to me, it's you know, it's important.
I agree. It's a fun record, man, and the waiting, and it's got all those elements. It's punk, it's like gothic rock, it's heavy metal a little bit. It's so cool, and I think you hear all the flavors and things that really represent your whole career, which is also, and Dan's as well, which is also real nice. I think it's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man,
that.
it works. So in terms of, let's, I of course dropped my phone a minute ago, but I just recovered it. So let's do a little track by track of the waiting. And again, whatever you'd like to share, we love to hear your insights into the album. So the album starts out with the awesome opener, Blackout.
Blackout is about this gothic chick that, actually, I'm still kind of friends with her on social media, and I used to see her post, and she's this real goth chick, very pretty girl. And you would just see these posts of hers, and you scratch your head. You're like, wow, this girl's crazy. She's actually deadly, you know. And that's when there's a line in the song, everybody's screaming for that gothic little demon, who's like, she's this chick that's just like, she emulates nothing but like death and destruction, but she's a beautiful girl. So that's really what that's about.
Awesome.
Simple.
Very simple. Second track on the album, not only one of the best covers ever, in my opinion, one of the best songs ever, Destroyer by the Kinks, right? Like, what a song.
You know, again, I picked that song when Cleopatra asked me to do some kind of duet with Yerky from 69 Eyes. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, you know, for two guys, right? So I'm like, first, I'm like, oh, we'll do one. Then I'm like, you know, let's do two just to make sure. And they wound up both working. And I picked Destroyer because I remember that, you know, as you know, I remember that song kind of in high school. And I was like, this is a pretty cool song. For the time, it was really powerful for the Kinks, who were around from the 60s. they come out with this, and I think it was probably around late 70s they came out with this song, and I thought the production on it back then was amazing. So I'm like, let me see if we can do our own spin on it, and that's why I picked that.
That's awesome. I should do a series on like punk and metal in unexpected places, and that song is definitely punk.
I think so.
Didn't know it was punk, but it was punk.
Right.
I love it.
Well, they were Kinks were really a garage punk band from the, from the 60s. So
yes, if you hear the word proto punk used a lot with Iggy and stuff, it applies to the Kinks as well. I agree. Bleeding Love was the big single, the first single, which I loved. Also, great hook. Let's hear about it.
Bleeding Love. So that song, believe it or not, is about my take on the hypocrites that tell you that you should be thinking one way, loving one way. They're saying that they're Christian and you're sinning because I was living with my girlfriend. There's a line that says religion body down. It was like it's kind of like being shot down because your beliefs don't line up with theirs. And what do we believe in? It doesn't matter what we believe in, right? I've come to realize, and as you mature and get older, you realize that you're looking at religion, whatever you believe in. I don't care. I have my own personal beliefs. But if you were Jewish and I was Catholic or Muslim or Buddhist or whatever, who's right? We're all right. You're all right to what you believe. And if you're an asshole, you're an asshole. Doesn't matter what you believe. If you're a nice guy, I don't care if you had $1 or $100 million. What's an asshole with $100 million? An asshole. So it doesn't matter what you got. It doesn't matter what you believe. You're a good person. You're a good person. You're welcomed in my world. That's what that's about.
Amazing. And yeah, we live in very curious and bizarre, judgmental times. Worse than ever.
Indeed.
But luckily we have music, and that's what I go back to over and over. Yep. Don't Mind the Pain is the next track.
Yeah, that's kind of like when you it's like the torture of what your mind plays on you when you're thinking about certain times or certain people, and we're all a glutton for punishment, right? Because we keep coming back. Sometimes it's like an S&M thing. It's like, thank you, sir, may I have another? And you keep going back and back, and that's kind of really what it is. So sometimes we don't mind the pain. Sometimes we actually enjoy it in some weird sense.
Right on. End of Days, a very prophetic End of Days title. Next, good song.
Yeah, again, it's the torment of life and the lies that come from outside of you being you, of your own mind being tortured. It's just like we're living in this time. We torture ourselves with things, and the end of days, it's not just the end of the day, end of days per se. It's about the end of anything you want it to be. Is it the end of a relationship? Is it the end of whatever the case may be, your shitty job or whatever? That's basically what it's about.
Ooh, cool. I love this next one also. Go, go, little one.
Again, more about, because believe it or not, I try to write, I'm not a storybook writer, right? So Dan has always said, and I tell people this in interviews, I have ADD supreme, right? It's supercharged. So when I write songs, I'm not writing a storyteller. I'm not a Bruce Springsteen or a Leonard Cohen, but I kind of skirt around certain things. So that's really about the thoughts that come into your mind. It's like you can't really forget things from the past. So it's go, move on, don't go, come back, leave. You keep bringing it back, you keep letting it go, but yet it comes back. That's basically what it's about.
We all have boomerang relationships in our lives, whoever they may be.
Whether it's a relationship with a woman, whether it's a relationship with a job, with friends, whatever it may be. Some are toxic, right? And there's people that you want to get rid of, and you get rid of for a certain time, but then we're like, oh, Yeah, well, yeah, let's come back because I'm a glutton for fucking punishment and I just want to explode because of the problems that you bring to me.
Right on. Just a PSA for everybody out there watching this interview. If you think like, oh, I don't have anybody like that in my life who's toxic, you are.
Yes.
For real. The next track is I Am Screaming. That is the next one.
That song, a personal friend of mine and my family's, their child um, killed himself. And it's about suicide. It's about, they're in this country more than I think the rest of the world. This country suffers from so many young people that are ending their lives. They're not realizing, they did this study that kids up to 25 years old, their brain isn't fully developed. So when they decide to make these decisions, they're not realizing how final it is because they can't think that way. And you say, well, how selfish was that? They don't realize that. And this is like, I am screaming, but they're screaming for help. And I know there's therapists out there, but they're not really hearing it, right? So a lot of it is textbook and they're giving you textbook answers. And there's just so many kids that are doing this. And it's almost like an epidemic of proportion of, because kids don't feel like they fit in. They feel like, we're all connected by these things, right? And we're so connected, we're all addicted. And if you don't feel part of the crowd or you don't have what someone else has, these kids feel left out of the world. And that's what that song is about.
Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that a lot. No notes. Perfect. So Lone Cool Woman is the next track.
Again, I was a kid. That was a song from the 70s. I'm a child of the 70s, proudly. And, I would hear that song and I'm like, I always wanted to do a remake of that song. And, sometimes you go, what? It's like movies, right? They remake movies. Like, how can you remake certain movies? It doesn't make sense. And it's hard for me to sit and remake a song that's already great. I was just hoping I could do some justice to it, doing a modern spin to it my voice is higher, Yerkes is really low because he sings like this. It's pretty amazing. I think it came off pretty well.
Yeah, every band is a cover band at first, and we all love songs. And I think there's two ways to go, and you guys did a really nice take on it. And Yerke's incredible anyway, so that's just awesome. You got to work with him. So yeah, very cool. And I don't feel like the covers take away from the originals, which is also important because you never want the cover to be the only thing you get. No, people clearly they won't only remember you for a cover, but I just feel like if a covers overshadow the rest of the record, then it's like a little less exciting for me as a listener. But I love the record, so yeah.
Thank you.
They help make it better.
Thank you.
Yeah. So of love, of hate, of pain is next. I want to make sure I don't mess that up.
It's again, it's watching people implode from their own self-destructive ways. And so I've said this, there are certain people that are not happy unless they're unhappy. All right. And it's the best way I can describe that. You're watching people from a distance. Some people don't want help. Some people rather sit in a pile of shit than get out and wash themselves off and, just enjoy things. I grew up with a person in my life from when we were children, and this person still rather bask in sorrow, and he just can't seem to get out of it. He doesn't want to get out of it, no matter how much help you want to give someone. And it's not a mental, well, I'm sure it's a mental thing, but there's some people that are just set in their ways that just rather they're doomed because some can get out, some can't, it's like sometimes you really have to, it's not only opening your eyes. We have a lot of people that wake up every day, but they're there physically, they're just not there mentally. You can open your eyes, but what are you actually looking at, right? Sometimes you can look out into the world, and I hate to use that whole thing where it says, is the glass half full or half empty? Really, our choice every day, as long as you're somewhat of health that you can actually get up and walk around and take a piss and get your day going, you have another shot. Of love, of hate, of pain. It's like people are destructive in their own ways because they don't want to get out. They just rather stay in this world of discomfort. Life's too short for that.
Right on. Not to interrupt the flow of this, but I will say that I love that you just personally and also in your music, you still have that PMA, right? You got that punk rock ultimate optimist thing underneath. We know the world is dark, and dark stuff is very attractive and cool, and we're all emos and goths in our hearts. But like, I like that you're optimistic.
The song "Waiting for the Sun to Go Down," it's my thoughts about viewing the world around me. I mean, what is life? We all stand alone. We're all alone here, man. I don't care if you're married and you have the best marriage, but we're all alone. We're all alone in our thoughts. At the end of the day, right? It's why marriages don't work out. It's why friendships don't work out. It's why a lot of things don't work out. We are tormented. We live this life of noise. There's noise that comes in from all over, right? Whether it's from the news, whether it's from your phone, all the crap that's around you is just cluttering noise. And people are just like, I think if we could actually implode, you would just see people walking around imploding in front of you because we're just filled with this stuff. And again, like a song like "Waiting for the Sun to Go Down," it's like that. The meaning of that is like a few different things. You're kind of watching from the top, and you're looking into this bowl, right, of trying to set yourself above the world, whether you believe it's flat or round, doesn't matter. But you're looking in this like it's in a bowl, and you're like waiting for something to stop, right? So I can get off, just to clear my head. But there's times where I like meditation because it gives me a chance to, like, it's like draining the oil in your car, right? The dirty oil. You kind of try to get rid of the noise. And sometimes that's getting rid of people too, because I think as you get older, the bandwidth in your life becomes less and less. So you have to get rid of some of the noise in order to live, in order to just be who you are.
Amen, brother. I have nothing else to add to that. And then I think we skipped over the title track, which I don't want to lose because that's one of the key tracks of the album for me.
It's the push and pull of life, death. It's that song had a lot more meaning to me than I actually thought it was. If you listen to that song, it's got this darker thing, and it was my ode to what the 80s were about in the time when before they really called it goth rock. They had this whole scene back in the day called Batcave, and it was all these darker bands, Alien Sex Fiends, Specimen, and then there was some of the other stuff, the Bauhaus stuff, things like that. And that was really, you'd go to these clubs in Manhattan, and these, whatever they were, new wave clubs or whatever, and the songs that were coming out of the speakers, that's what it kind of morphed into. I just wanted to make it a little more of this gothic-y vibe thing.
Right on. You just took me right back to my youth. Batcave, The Bank was a big one I used to go to
Sure.
with friends. Wetlands had a post-punk night. That was all early Ministry and Killing Joke.
You're too young for
the
that.
Fall. No, sir. No, sir. I got a baby face under this beard. That's about it. The rest of me is like 1,000 years of age. But yeah, man, it was quite a time, and I love that you paid tribute to that. What a fun album. What a good album. I'm so excited. So the record's coming out March 3rd on Cleopatra,
Yes.
as I mentioned. Oh, is there a chance you guys can do some touring? I know you're so busy with everything else.
Look, the most important part of this is playing, right? And that's the part that I enjoy the most. That's where we connect with people. I'm hoping that we can transfer the energy of this record to the audience, whether you buy it, stream it, we play for you. You know, it's the energy is so important, and the live shows, meeting people. I love meeting people. That's the best part of this gig is meeting, you know, fans who become friends, and you know, to have that relationship with people where they pay their hard-earned money to support you in whatever way it may be, like I said, through something tangible, streaming live. You know, I am very appreciative of that. And again, best part of the job is the live gig.
Right on. And you've had nothing like a ton of live stuff. Obviously, you know, Danzig has had a very busy last few years between Danzig and the Misfits, and he just did the Elvis show.
Yeah, we
So
did that 2 weeks ago today,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, I heard great things about it. I would love to see him break. I know he really does not enjoy touring, and the Lucifuge tour and the other hits tour was very busy for the last couple of years. But I would love to see Glenn do the Elvis stuff live, because I think it translates
You
better
will.
in an intimate theater setting. Oh, we will. All right.
Oh yeah, you will. There'll be
Uh,
more. There'll be more Danzig shows. Should be announced soon.
Nice. And I'm rooting for more Misfits stuff too. I know it's, you know, we'll see. And I would say this, I know, you know, you've been one of like one of the most longest serving people in a band with him, just over periods of time. And so I know that he must really trust you and value loyalty. I'm sure that's the thing. But I know he's so enigmatic because he's so, you know, buttoned up personally in terms of his image. I was gonna just you know, ask you, like, what's like what is something about Danzig people don't know that would surprise them and like, you know, surprise them in a positive way to know? Because I think people don't really, no one really knows him.
You know, Glenn is a true artist. I've heard people say that, people ask me, is he difficult to work with? No, as long as he gets what he wants. And why shouldn't he get what he wants? He's the artist, right? One thing that Glenn taught me is you got to be true to yourself. You are the one that has to be happy with the outcome of whatever it may be, because it will live forever, especially today, right? This lives in some way, shape, or form in a digital world. It lives forever. You have to be happy with it. Glenn can pick apart things and hear things that you wouldn't even think, and you're like, how did he hear that? Like, no, you didn't do this. He'll say something to Tommy like, no, there's that little chord in there. I didn't hear it. And it's like, we're sitting there in a room. It's fucking 10,000 decibels, and there's vocals, drums, bass, and guitar. And like, he hears these little nuances down to colors on a t-shirt. Those colors are not right. Send them back. I don't want them. You know, the t-shirt's a piece of garbage. He wants to make sure it's his best. People can agree whether they like everything he's done or like some stuff, but I can tell you he's a true artist. Whether he's drawing, whether he's doing his films, whether he's doing music, he's a true artist. He never compromised himself, his life. It wasn't like, okay, I'm 30 years old now and I'm going to marry some girl and have kids and the white picket fence, and I'll do music on the side. That wasn't him. It was sink or swim. And it's like that for him all the time. And he does it to the way he wants to. And again, I've told people, it's why you won't get a Mother Part 2. He's already done that. He's moved on from that. And, you know, and when I first heard the Elvis album, I'm thinking, like, I remember I was in LA and I went to the studio while he was mixing, and I sat there and I'm like, of course, it's not the way you're used to hearing some of these songs. And I wasn't confused, but I was like, well, that's an interesting take on the song. Listening to the songs to learn them, to do them live, you sit there and you get this whole other appreciation for what he did. And as you said, when it's live, my God, the hairs on my arms just stand up when I hear him sing this stuff. When it's stuff with just him and the piano player, you're got like, my God, you know, this man is a crooner. He's not just your average singer. That's why he's Glenn Danzig. right? That's why you have the Steven Tylers. That's why you have whoever it may be, right? But he's Glenn fucking Danzig. And this guy can sing his motherfucking ass off. And again, people don't have to like him, but I can tell you that he puts his all, and you go to one of these Danzig Elvis shows and you feel his appreciation and passion for Elvis in this stuff. And again, I sometimes I think it's better to hear it live and then listen to the record. I had a better appreciation for the record after I heard it live, believe it or not. But man, it's like, it's just crazy. It's, again, spine tingling for sure. And again, even in Danzig, I mean, you hear these songs and they're very bluesy based songs. And when this guy's singing things like Killer Wolf or Not of This World, you know, you're like, how? Right? How? The guy gives out more energy than most 18-year-olds. And, you know, there's something to be said about that. And again, he is an artist. He wants what he wants. Can he be difficult if he doesn't get what he wants? Because he knows exactly what is needed to do the job. And he's not willing to take any less than that. And you got to give props to somebody like that than to conform to what others think it should be.
Killer. Well said.
I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like I said, I've seen Danzig a bunch solo, and Aftershock Festival where I saw you guys was killer. Great set list, great, very well received. The crowd was nuts for Danzig, which was great to see. You love to see it in a big festival setting, because I've only seen him in clubs and not really in America. We don't do a lot of heavy metal festivals anymore. They have some, and Danny Wimmer, they do a good job. So
yeah, Danny Wimmer did a great job.
Yeah, it was a fun fest, and you know, all the bands were killer. So yeah, man, just thanks for sharing all that. That was great. And again, I wish you the best of success with everything.
Thank you so much.
Hope to see you out on the road, either with Danzig or yourself.
Absolutely, and appreciate your time.